Studios in Kampala.
Well, very interesting inside these studios. There's so much that happens behind the scene, and every time you see me with a smile is because I work with a very interesting team, and there's always so much regarding current affairs that we keep on discussing every time we are together. Now, welcome to this particular program, which is an extension of Good Morning Uganda. I know it is cold, and I know it could be hard for many to move through the streets of Kampala and whatever part of the country you are. But please, and please, if you're driving, be considerate of the people on foot. When I was coming in the morning, I saw these young kids, and I could tell by their uniform that they are from Nakasero Primary School. And I'm so connected to that school because it's my primary school. Now, around railway crossing, Ginger Road, as you're coming from Mukwano, there is where there is always stagnation of water when it rains before that railway crossing. And this person, sometimes I fail to get the right word to use, and I prefer to call them educated idiots in one way or the other, because he seemed, by driving and dress code, that he was rushing to office. Man in suit comes and drives through and splashed the water. These kids and their mother, they could not let certain things be. Of course, I drove ahead of him, tried to stop him, and he couldn't even. Said, yes, but I'm very arrogant. And I'm like, please, if you're blessed to drive, you weren't born with a car. Be mindful of other road users. And you're not the definer of your destiny. Supposing tomorrow you end up walking on foot, and someone is driving, and they splash water on you. Some instances are unavoidable, that we can understand. But when you do it recklessly, carelessly, it doesn't add up. Let's be considerate of other road users. I'm Robert Chirabo, and this morning I'm going to be discussing a topic I'm very passionate about, which is the role of cooperatives in the transformation agenda of our country. Now, people who've lived long in this country will tell you that there was a time when cooperatives dominated our economy. What they call the good old days of the farmers, where people would tell you would simply have a receipt and would work like money in hospital, in schools, and they would say life was a bit fair and good in terms of those in the agricultural sector. But cooperatives didn't only work in the agricultural sector, and many others. And now joining me on set to discuss this is a man I call cooperatives. But actually he is Ivan Asimwe, the Secretary General of the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, with whom we are going to be discussing this and more, plus the news of establishment of the Cooperative Bank, how far they have gone. They had a consultative meeting and all that. Ivan, most welcome to the studios.
Privileged to be here. Good morning, viewers. Thank you so much, Mr. Chirabo. And I'm always grateful. I'm always thankful to UBC, the board and management, for always giving us the opportunity as cooperators to come here, discuss issues to do with cooperatives. The topic is very fantastic, because it's about the role of cooperatives in the transformation agenda of this country.
Now, to begin with, many people have a feeling that cooperatives once lived, then died. However, a few are thriving.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want you to drop that knowledge that actually cooperatives died. In principle, cooperatives don't die. Cooperatives just rest a bit, and then after some time, they come up. When you talk about death, apart from Jesus, there's no any other person who has ever resurrected. So when the moment you talk about death, that means end of the story. But I want to tell the viewers that why we say cooperatives don't die, but rather rest, or I can use a simple word, sleep. It's because if you are to look at this country, there was such a time, I'm happy with that, the analogy, that there was such a time when this country was good. Good in terms of cooperatives. 1960s, early 1970s, cooperatives were very strong. To the extent that you can imagine, they owned 14 gineries and 7 coffee chewing works. In 1961, they established Uganda Cooperative Alliance as an umbrella body. In 1964, they established the Cooperative Bank. By 1965, they owned 325,311,500 Uganda shillings only in agriculture. That was a very big percentage to our budget. They owned a lot. Government realized that there was a need for cooperative education and established the Cooperative College at Bukarasa in 1963, that later went to Chigumba in 1974. So that was a time when my grandmother, my grandfather used to take coffee, cotton, produce to the societies. And you would take it, immediately you get a receipt. And the receipt was a cash equivalent, whereby you would now go to a society, you take your coffee, the receipt given, you can take it to a hospital, you can take it to a school. I remember when I had just joined the senior one, they would pick those receipts, the bursar would pick the receipts and take them to the cooperative bank for discounting. So it means that a coffee farmer or anybody who was a member of the cooperative society had an opportunity to take the child to school, had an opportunity to seek medical care, because the cooperative was there to bridge the gap. However, issues came in, especially the enactment of the 1970 Cooperative Societies Act that took away the principle of cooperatives, which is autonomy and independence. That was the beginning of the collapse. Some people who don't read, they usually blame others, but that was the origin of the collapse. Now, talk about the wars, the civil wars that we had, 79, 81 to 86. Cooperatives were very strong, that they owned the traders. Man, not these small traders you see here, Fuso. Man, Scania, Benz. They had these big vehicles where you could sit in and you only see the sky, Leyland, carrying coffee from a society to a union. I tell you, you would see vehicles branded to promote cooperatives and marketing. I tell you, people who lived then have stories to tell. But because of all of those dynamics I've mentioned, cooperatives went into bed. I'm very happy that they have been revived. That's why we don't use the word death. Because had they died, they wouldn't be alive by now. So they had just rested. They have been awakened. I'm so grateful with the president. Forget about politics. For us cooperators, when we are discussing our cooperative issues, we don't want to hear politics.
Politics, yes.
Because we don't mix the two. For us, we are after transformation agenda, using the cooperative approach. So for those who are interested in politics, look for your own discussion. But for us as cooperators, we discuss economic transformation of this country using the cooperative model. So I thank the president, I thank the government, because they have really put in a lot of energy to revive, to strengthen the cooperative movement. You can see the unions are now back. Talk about Wamara, Cooperative Union, Banyankole Kweterana, Bugisu, you go to East Acholi, West Acholi, Okoro Coffee, Masaka. Masaka is now exporting coffee. Talk about Bugisu, they're exporting. Ankole Coffee, they're exporting. Rwenzori Coffee, Cooperative Union, they're exporting. Chibinge here in Masaka, it is exporting. You go to Semuriki Cooperative Union in Kasese, in Bundubujo for cocoa, they are exporting. So talk about circles. We now have circles that are bigger than banks. So why wouldn't
the likes of Wazalendo?
Yes, the Wazalendo circle. Talk about the Exodus circle. Talk about Parliamentary circle. Talk about Ryamujungu, Ruchiga. we have very big circles.
Maybe that said, a quick one, I must say, for our viewers, the definition of cooperative, because those that were there can understand. But for this generation, what is a cooperative? What exactly are we talking of that once led economic growth and now has been rejuvenated?
Now, in simple terms, a cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their social, economic, cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. What do I mean? It is where me and Chirabo and the others 30 people, having realized the need for us to move ahead, we come together, form, register, own, control, and do business with our own group. That is how I can define it. So a cooperative ideally is based on 7 principles, international cooperative principles. They were first developed in 1966 under Vienna Congress. Then in 1995 under Manchester Congress, that's when they added on the 7th principle, community concern. Now, cooperatives are also based on 4 pillars. That's why I want the viewers to understand this. People who don't understand the cooperatives confuse them with associations and groups. Yes, a cooperative is an association. It is a group, but based on principles and values. The other ones, I don't know they are based on what. Now, and these are international, not Ugandan values. So the first value is about ownership. It is owned by the members. Number 2, it is controlled by members, member control. That is the second principle now. They are linked. The second principle is about member economic participation. Then, it is also, that is the third, the member economic participation is the third principle. The second is democratic member control. And the first one is also voluntary and open membership. Now, it is also used by members and benefiting members. Those are the 4 pillars that emanate from the 7 principles. So they are all joined together. That's a cooperative. And if you are to look at the history of cooperatives, viewers, cooperatives were never started by politicians. No. Cooperatives were started by farmers. They were started by people, the weavers. On the 14th of March, 1761 in Scotland, when the weavers were seated together, they realized that if you work alone, you can never progress. So they agreed to form a cooperative, but which was of informal nature. Then in 1844 in Rochdale, the weavers still, they came together and formed the first formal cooperative society. In Uganda here, 1913, 4 farmers in Mubende, because of the too much exploitation in this country. Farmers said yes by then, because we are under the colonial rule, and we had these middlemen of Asian origin who were exploiting the farmers. So the farmers realized it and said enough is enough. 4 farmers led the revolution. And they came up with a cooperative society that they named China Korea. China Korea means what?
It will eat you.
It will eat you. That's it. So
you either gather and fight it, or we are all taken
so
up.
Ugandans, we still have China Korea. That's why you see, I always ask myself, Chirabo, why is it that farmers are poor, but traders are rich?
The middleman.
The middleman
makes a lot of money, actually, more than the farmers. You find
the middleman is driving a Land Cruiser, he's staying in a Kalina, they are constructing mansions in Kampala, but the farmer is there struggling without even a bicycle in the village.
A bunch of matoke, the farmer sells at 3,000, the middleman brings to the market and sells at 10,000.
Very good. So there is no magic. The issue is that farmers need to mobilize themselves into cooperatives so that instead of donating their wealth, one time I was here and someone asked me, you know, in Uganda, when you talk about poor, when you say Ivan is poor, immediately you think of Ivan failing maybe to take the children to school. That is not the meaning of the word poor. The word poor means passing on opportunities repeatedly.
Yes.
It doesn't mean something different. So what does it mean? It means that Ivan, who is a coffee farmer, is donating this coffee by exporting it in raw form, takes it to Europe, the Europeans make money, and you remain struggling here. You can imagine, the European is now enjoying, is at the beach. But my mother, my father, they're in the villages struggling in the gardens with coffee. The other man who is just enjoying at the beach is waiting for us to harvest our coffee and then says, sir, here is our coffee. Can you imagine, you're a farmer and you're a beggar? Here is my coffee. You make money, I remain poor. Are we created by the same God? We must think as Ugandans. So the only liberator is the cooperative movement. Cooperatives have worked elsewhere. These people who come here to teach us about capitalism, they are using cooperatives at home. You go to France, you go to Germany, you go to UK, you go to USA, you go to Canada, go to Brazil, go to Korea, go everywhere. These guys have very strong cooperatives. You can't imagine, you go to Netherlands, the dairy farmers have their own union. Friesland Campina is now a multinational, processing milk. Then you go to Korea. The National Cooperative Agriculture, the National Agricultural Cooperative Federation of Korea was formed after UCA had been formed because they were here. They studied how cooperatives work in Uganda here. UCA was formed on the 17th of June 1961. For them, they went and formed theirs around October.
Now, Ivan, with no doubt that cooperatives can greatly transform and be a solution to the farmers in this country. The question is now, how far have we moved since the rejuvenation of these cooperatives?
Very fantastic. If now you see in this country, I cannot entirely say that we have moved very far, but we have moved. That's why I'm proud that you talk about these bigger circles. You know how circles were established? UCA, Uganda Cooperative Alliance, working with the government and UNDP and other partners, they started village banks in 1990s. I was still a young man, 1990s, where they were mobilizing us to come. We had prominent professors, Professor Kagonyera, Professor Kamuntu, Professor Suruma. I remember when I was still young, they were moving across the country with Uganda Cooperative Alliance, educating people, and they formed village banks that later transformed into circles because Bank of Uganda was questioning the word bank. So in order not to have issues with the central bank, we now changed the name to circles. And now you can see circles are everywhere. The government of Uganda, with the leadership of our president, has adopted the cooperative model. And you see now the parish development circles, PDM circles. Over 10,954 parishes will each have a circle. That's a credit on our side. So when you ask me how far we are, but then
when you talk about circles, indeed, just a minute on that. When you talk about circles, and with the definition of cooperatives that you've given us, I think we have a problem. The foundation of the circles we are having today does not rhyme very well with the definition of a circle to the cooperators. Look, today I see many people joining parish development model, joining many circles to receive money from government. Yet, when you read all books regarding cooperatives, the cooperators, and you understand this properly, and with the definition you've given, it should be us with a common agenda, bring together our efforts, bring resources together to support each other. And I think His Excellency was very right some years back when he told people, form circles. You know, when you all gather and you have a unifying factor, and you have a pool of money. When we lend you today, you use the money, you bring. But when the other politicians went on, mukole sako government ebawe sente. Today, pillar 3 of the parish development model, people are not looking at the foundation, the principles of forming these circles, like to the center as a parish, we are waiting. Are we on the right track in that direction?
Now, you see the whole thing now comes back to cooperative education. You know, the way I understand the cooperatives is different from how others understand it. And I don't blame them, because possibly they have not gotten the opportunity to really understand the cooperative ideology. I may sit with you here and then maybe you're a member of a circle and you think that you understand the circles. But unless you study cooperatives, the other day I was here and I said in this country we have very few people who understand the cooperatives. But very many talk about them. You hear someone, a consultant, he's busy talking about cooperatives. Put him aside and ask him, what is a cooperative? The man cannot define. But he's a consultant and he's getting a lot of money from government. So the whole idea is that people are talking about it. People are very excited, but they don't understand the ideology. It's like you're excited to go and marry, but you have not matured to be a man. Then what will happen? To someone's daughter, what will happen? So in other words, I want to urge government, now that we are in the transformation agenda, using the cooperative model, we need to put in more money into capacity building. And we begin with the topmost. We go to policy makers, members of parliament. Yes, you like this model, but what is it? What are the principles? What are the values of cooperatives? We continue, before we go to Manainchi, we begin with the up, we continue down, 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 down. Now, you know when His Excellency says that you form circles, as a head of family, he has finished. Now, the technical part of it should be me and you. It's like when you buy meat at home, Chirabo, you have a family. When you pass via meat packers and take 5 kilos of meat, are you the one who cooks? Are you the one who puts in salt?
No.
So, His Excellency has done his part. So, let the technical people sit. But the so-called technical people are not technical in the cooperatives. But they talk. You just sit with them. Sometimes they call me. And then I listen, you say, you people, do you understand the cooperatives? Where did
then
you
there
get
comes
from?
the politicians.
Yes, now another one comes. Now a politician comes. Hey, my constituency, I want everybody to be a member of a circle. Then you ask him, Honorable, you put him aside, not in the public. What is a circle? The man will start saying, a circle is this. Whereby you begin with poverty and then come up with
wealth.
That is a politician. Now you go to these technical people in the ministries. What is a circle? A circle is a bank. A circle is a microfinance. Can you imagine? So government put in a lot of. This is a very good model. The parish development model, if well implemented, is the best model for this country, based on 7 principles. But when you summarize all the 7 from the first one, which is about storage, its aggregation, production, aggregation, value addition, and marketing. You go to the second one, which is about infrastructure. Go to the third one, which is financial inclusion. You continue with the social services. You go to parish management information system. You go to governance and administration. My God, if you summarize all of this, it's about the cooperative model. You know, Chirabo, people don't want to believe, especially these economists who have been trained by capitalists. They don't. I did economics, but I will tell you, throughout my economics, they avoid the word cooperatives because they are promoting capitalism, and they know capitalism will favor them, not us here.
Well, let me cut you short and make some money. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
In Bushenyi district, we run a number of programs ranging from service delivery to wealth creation. We have the presidential initiative on wealth creation, a Myuga program, where we have 34 circles that have been given funds for the last 2 years, of which each circle received 33 million and only 2 managed to receive 50 million each. These funds have enabled the different categories of our population to engage into business-related activities, and we can see their incomes getting better. Some of them are into tailoring, others into mechanics, into carpentry, hairdressing, all mention it. And so far, they are running their enterprises smoothly.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko.
Check the shopping, man.
What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break. Thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. In case you have just joined, I'm Robert Chirabonyo. You know this is Good Morning Uganda Extra, and we are here every weekday from 6:30 with Good Morning Uganda. Now, why you shouldn't miss starting your day with us is because we brighten up your mornings. No matter how dark the night was, I can assure you, we do brighten up your morning because we have some light jokes. Then we give you very informative discussions on topical issues, but also we enable you know what is happening locally and internationally. Now, even for the sports lovers, there's always Ruben who gives you sports updates. And I come with agenda where I have a guest, and usually we are discussing issues, matters of national concern. Now, you can't fail to have a heavy breakfast packed with relevant information. Make it a date with us tomorrow from 6:30. We are still in the Extra, which is an extension of Good Morning Uganda, and we are looking at the role of cooperatives in the transformational agenda of our country. I have Ivan Asimwe, who is the Secretary General of the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, the apex body that brings together all cooperators in this country. Now, Ivan, recently, cooperators were very excited when they heard of the news that government has finally approved the establishment of a cooperative bank in Uganda. How far?
Thank you so much. Before I come to that, you know, by the time we went in for break, we were looking at the cooperative model. And I wanted to tell Ugandans, you know, if you have a beautiful lady, however much people smear her with cow dung, the fact remains that she's beautiful.
Yes.
Now, however much some people despise cooperatives, because they do it because some of them, many of them don't understand the model. However much they do what, it is the cooperative model that is going to transform Uganda's economy, that is going to transform Africa. Here, when I'm here, I'm talking for Africa, because I sit on the International Cooperative Agriculture Organization as a vice chairman in charge of Africa. But whenever I am in these international meetings and the cooperators are presenting, you even feel shy, because continents have moved very far using the cooperative model. Like I've mentioned, you go to America, you go to Europe, you go to Asia Pacific, they are moving very fast. Because cooperatives is about cooperation, it's about love, it's about coming together, it's about consolidating your resources and wealth. Short of that, individualism does not work. It only works for people who have reached a certain level. So what these people do, they just use cooperatives at home and then use capitalism outside their economies to go and make money outside. That's why you find in Europe, the cooperatives form companies, and those companies are become multinationals, and these are the multinationals that come here as capitalists, and they start making money from us, so feeding into the other structure. So that is the whole issue. If you are to compare, let's say, look at our economy here, compare it with Kenya, because in Africa, Kenya is leading in cooperatives, and hence its economy. By 2021, Chirabo, Kenya's economy registered a GDP of 110.35 USD, whereas Uganda's economy was at, the GDP was at 40.43 US dollars. Now, if you go to ranking, international ranking, Kenya is ranked the 66th largest economy, whereas Uganda is at 104. Now, what is the magic? Cooperatives in Kenya. If you went to Kenya and you see cooperatives, talk about the cooperative insurance company, it's a giant. Talk about the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, it's a giant. Talk about if you have been to Nairobi or Matatus, they are for circles. So I want Ugandans, don't go very far. You know, when you tell Ugandans to go for benchmarking, they don't want to go to Kenya. They want to fly and go to Europe. But those things that you study in Europe don't work here. The economies are different. But Kenya is just next. You can easily benchmark and do it better here. So I want to urge you all Ugandans, let's embrace the cooperative model. Let's all form or join cooperatives. Now, in that regard, we had a meeting. We had a National Cooperative Consultative meeting last month on the 28th. It was at Silver Springs Hotel, where we brought all cooperators under one roof. We looked at the form and the type. When you talk about the forms of cooperatives, we mean the structures going vertically. We brought the societies, cooperative societies, the secondary unions, the tertiary unions, chaired by the APEX, which is Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Then we brought the other types: agriculture, health, mining, forestry, transport, finance, which are circles, energy, all of them. They sat in the room. And within the room, they came up with very different, and in fact with various resolutions. Number one, they all agree with the government that we need to establish the cooperative bank. Because ideally a cooperative bank must be established based on the principles and the values of cooperatives, not politics. And they all agreed that politics should be away. We should not bring politics in the cooperative bank. The bank should be established, should be owned, used, controlled by the cooperative movement. That was agenda number 1. And how did it come? When the government approved the decision that we establish the bank, we started the consultations across the country. Now this one was a national one, where we are now consolidating ideas across the board. I'm very happy to tell Ugandans that cooperators support the idea of having a cooperative bank. Now where we are heading, we are now on paperwork. We are engaging consultants to do further studies. They are going to Kenya and other countries, but we need support such that we come up with something that will not have issues like the former cooperative bank. So that is where we are. The other resolution was the amendment of the laws, especially touching circles. You know, in 2003, Bank of Uganda amended the MDI Act for it to supervise and regulate bigger circles, circles like Wazalenda and others, that have a share capital of 500 million and then voluntary savings of 1.5 billion as a threshold. So for those who are above, they should be going to central bank.
Yes.
Then in 2016, government also came up with a new law, the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act. Then in 2020, the Cooperative Societies Act was amended, again saying circles come back to the Register of Cooperatives. So in other words, it created a legal dilemma. So that legal dilemma has subsequently affected circles. I'm happy with the Attorney General. The Attorney General came up with an opinion and said, given this lacuna, we need to harmonize, amend all these laws so that we speak the same language. Of recent, even the Solicitor General did the same. Now, I'm happy with the Parliament because Parliament is also in for the amendments. Because as cooperators, they all agreed that let us amend and harmonize all these 3 laws so that we have a single law and a regulator for circles. That was another brilliant idea. The other resolution was about cooperative education. I have been talking about cooperative education. Chirabo, there is no way you are going to have very strong and vibrant cooperatives without investing in a cooperative education. We must, now we go back to Kenya. Kenya Cooperative College was established in 1967, but now by I think 2016, they elevated it to a university, the Cooperative University of Kenya. Now they have started admitting PhD students. Moshi University, where Your Excellency was teaching. And that's why he understands cooperatives. So, Moshi University was established in 1963, same year like ours here. But now, they have an enrollment of over 10,000 students from certificate up to PhD in the cooperatives. So Ugandans, when you talk about cooperatives, don't they just think you come from Europe, from my village in Nyarushanje, Rukunjiri, you come here and talk about cooperatives. You need to study cooperatives. You understand them from certificate to PhD. It's not a simple thing. So when we are here talking about cooperatives, we are confident because we have studied cooperatives. But people don't just misuse the name of cooperatives. And that is why we are having challenges in this country. The question you have been asking. So they agreed that let government upgrade these 2 cooperative colleges, Tororo and Chigumba, because even the principals were there. Let us either make them degree awarding institutions or we make them universities. Why are we, you know, sometimes I ask myself, why do we set up all of these universities? You can imagine you have a university funded by government teaching a course, conflict resolution. Conflict resolution. And these other funny courses. Now, why don't you invest in cooperative education? Why don't you have degrees, masters, and PhDs in cooperatives so that when I'm talking, I have other people near me
who can understand.
Yes, who can understand, people that I can discuss with, not these other children. You are discussing cooperatives, someone is saying, what is a circle? And it's the same person promoting cooperatives. So I want a team so that when we talk as men. in terms of cooperative.
Land fellows in that
yes,
area.
land people in the cooperative.
Well, Ivan, time is
I
not
want
so
a
much.
team.
Time is not so much on our side, but of course we can take more than an hour discussing cooperatives and their role in this socio-economic transformation of our country, because evidence is there that where this has been a priority, it has caused social transformation and boosted the economy of people. And also our government believes that through a model like parish development model, the 39% of our people who are not in the money economy will be able to be transformed and have their status economically transformed through such a model, where they will be now able to buy and purchase and also use and improve their livelihoods. But before we move out of here, Ivan, what is your last word to the viewers?
Oh, to the viewers, first of all, I want to thank UBC for always giving us that opportunity. Ugandans, I want to urge you, men and women, young and old, let us embrace the cooperative model. I want to kindly request government, let us invest in cooperative education. Let us build the capacities of Ugandans. Let us support people using the cooperative model. We have these young engineers who have finished electrical, civil, and mechanical. These guys can be mobilized through a cooperative, and the government can support them, own equipments, and they start constructing roads and bridges. Instead of bringing foreigners, we would rather use our own people. We have doctors. These people can be mobilized together like they have done. They have a hospital at UCA, but it is still at a smaller, somewhere it is still in the infancy stage. But government can really support these doctors to establish a first-class hospital in this country using a cooperative model. Let us stop exploitation of our farmers. This is the right time for government and for everybody to mobilize these farmers instead of producing and exporting raw food. Let us start processing. You saw the other day when the president was emphasizing processing of coffee. Instead of exporting raw coffee and we get little money, let us process coffee here and we export a processed product and we make more money. With all these, Ugandans, we shall have a transformed economy, a first-class economy called Uganda. I thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ivan Asimwe, the Secretary General Uganda Cooperative Alliance, and of course our viewer. Thank you so much for being with us from the hour of 6:30, even though that I've just joined. But make it a date with us tomorrow from 6:30. We are here, the mighty, fantastic four, and a big team behind the camera in the technical wing, which I can't forget to thank for the good work they do, so that we can come live to you. Have a lovely day. God bless you. See you tomorrow.